Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm in DayZ 1.21. We've had a stable update fairly recently. I've been exploring, so what I thought I'd do is put together some looting tips for this particular update. Let's get started. Most of these tips aren't military based, apart from this first one where we look at Hummers. Now these do spawn in military locations, but they also spawn in other places such as the Northeast Airfield, and they're often missed. People don't realise that these particular vehicles, these new vehicles, they look in good condition compared to the others, spawn ammo, clothing, guns, a whole range of things, so check them out. Castles are also fantastic with the recent update. That's because you can find the new melee weapons like the mace here, which is particularly powerful, but you can also find armor. We have got the breastplate, and you can find things like chainmail leggings, which are heavy but offer great protection. And also at these locations you can find things like ammo and the loot that was spawning there previously. SSGs are now spawning in police stations, and they often take the place of shotguns. Now they spawn with scopes, they're inbuilt in with the gun, and they often have mags as well. They're pretty much an OP gun because they give this scope aspect, which means that more people have scopes in game. They're also spawning in the Spillover Loot sections. Now another thing to note when you're looting police stations is they do have woolen gloves. These take up a slot, so I'm finding maybe that there's a little bit less ammo in police stations because we now have gloves, but they do offer some good insulation. We also have summer camps. Now these locations are fantastic. You can find a range of loot here. They feel more OP than normal. You can find things like longhorns, which are particularly good because they have their scope. You can find things like scopes, and you can find food and boxes of ammo like this. If you're after a PU scope, then this is a really good place to come and check. If it's not been looted, then get to these summer camps. They are just awesome. Cars are also really important to check because you can find things like food in them. Certain cars spawn certain types of loot, so get used to where they are. These ones here are near Berezino and they always spawn food, so kind of make a mental note of what you can find in those cars. Spillover loot is also a big thing as well. Still, it has been for a long time in DayZ, but I wanted to add this in here because we mustn't forget that some of the buildings around some of the key locations like hospitals do spawn loot. It spills over into these buildings and you can find amazing loot just across the road potentially, or up some scaffolding. This industrial building has an office on the left hand side. Sometimes it's attached to a separate building, but these do now offer some great stuff. You can often find food on the ground floor, and then when you go upstairs, if it hasn't been looted, there may well be a low tier gun up there, which if you're looking at the beginning of the game is quite handy. I've also noticed some caravans are spawning guns. This is the first time that I've seen this in DayZ. These caravans, in my mind, have never spawned guns, so it might be worth checking those when you're running through the countryside. Of course, toilets are still awesome. Don't forget to check them. You can find a range of loot, food, weapons, guns. It does depend where they're located. If they're located near a hunting area, then they'll get things like boxes of ammo. These little market stalls, they have ladders on the side. You can climb up these and check, and they sometimes will have guns and ammo in these locations. These are easily missed. Sandbags at some military locations that are separate and have a little roof like this one here will often spawn loot. Now people forget about these areas. Sometimes it's not particularly useful loot, but occasionally you get some ammo, you might get a gun, you might get a mag, and people haven't checked these areas. It's a good little tip, so make sure you check those sandbags. The back of trucks also fairly recently began to spawn this loot. This one here is a can of food. Get in there, check those, doesn't take long, and they're easy to spot. green walls at particular locations have some amazing loot. If you see a green wall like this, and there are a few locations around the map, and it's got shelving, get in there, check. There'll be food, there might be medical supplies, there might be clothing. Not as good as it used to be, but they're still pretty damn amazing. It's a variety of stuff that people seem to ignore. Whenever I come to these locations, they seem to be fully stocked. But again, the loot may have had a bit of a downturn recently, so not as good as they used to be. But you definitely find tuna. Guard posts, probably one of the best places in DayZ to come. What I find about these is they spawn police loot, but it seems to respawn much quicker than lots of other locations. So even if it has been looted, what I'm finding is that there might be a mag for a Glock in this particular location, and I think that that's pretty damn amazing. These locations I would always double check. You have got things like a cleaning kit, which are particularly hard to come by. And we've got a couple of examples here because I just feel like this location is probably one of the best locations to check in game. So make sure when you see a guard post you check it, and just be conscious because people know this location and they're looking for stab vests and stuff like that as well. And then we have a bonus tip here. This is the cream house. There's a stack of furniture to one side, and I'll be finding loot spawning in there. People are missing it. We've got a Makarov here spawning in this location. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Hope you found it useful. If you did, give me a thumbs up down below, and I will catch up with you very soon. Thanks again.